I'm TJ Barczyk.
And I'm Casey Brazil.
And this is Work Friends. Work Friends is a podcast where we look at typical water cooler conversation, funny stories, and hopefully give you some interesting topics to talk to that one person in the office that you seem to have nothing in common with.
Okay, so two topics. First one today that I want to talk about a little bit is when you work. When do you get your best work done? Let's just start with that. When do you get your best work done?
Sure. Personally, I'm a morning person. Kind of grew up waking up pretty early. I get my best work done mostly the time when I'm by myself, and that tends to be early in the morning, especially in an office job, before kind of the noise and the kind of meetings and all that sort of start. So for me, it's as early as possible.
Absolutely. I think anybody who's like an office drone kind of knows this thing of like the rhythms of days. Like, there's definitely something to learn around like breaking up your to-do list between your things that like I can do my uninterrupted work time versus my I need the resources of other humans to interact with, and it's easy to just kind of like say, well, what's on fire? I'll do that first. But there's a kind of a gamesmanship to trying to figure that out, for like teamwork.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a big part of email and how you handle email, which plays into a huge part of that, right? So emails won't start coming in usually until 8:30, 9 o'clock. So you have time before that if you've kind of cleared the inbox to actually kind of be productive. Because once emails start coming in, you're just kind of responding to things, unless you do one of those weird tactics like I only respond to emails from this time to this time, and which I personally can't do. I don't know how people do.
It sounds so nice, though, right?
People that the hyper productives that like I respond to emails for 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. I was like, what if something crisis happens, right?
Yeah.
There's two types of people, right? There's people who, will stay late to kind of get their stuff done. This is more from, I guess, a manager perspective, right? Because during the day, you're working with your team and you're working with clients or whatever it may be. The time to actually get done your own work is either at the beginning or the end, unless you've kind of mapped out stuff in the middle of the day, which never actually works.
It's kind of like the thing with it from a productivity standpoint is it's like knowing yourself. Understanding when you will have best discipline. Because, I know as a writer, if I've written 1 million words in my life, which probably I haven't, 800,000 of them got written before 10:15.
Really? I'm actually surprised by that, because you hear about writers, especially, I guess writers that have kids especially, kids go to school and they just lock themselves in from, 9 to 3 or whatever it is, and then that's their writing time.
Yeah, I don't have kids. I don't know what that shit is like, but I have heard a lot of people work the same way. I know Stephen King talks about how he writes in the morning, and Stephen King is insane, and I've read so much about his writing process. One, because it's very interesting in the way he talks about his process, but two, because he, obviously very prolific and very successful, but he will write 2,000 words a day, every single day, which is an insane amount to write on one project that's still going.
8 pages? Right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, think 300 words a page. Yeah. But, and he'll, on a good day, he'll be done at 8. On a bad day, it'll be 9 at night, and he's still sitting in.
So is it a minimum?
But it's usually
it's a minimum 2,000, or he's max
minimum 2,000.
But if he's in a group, he might just keep going.
Yeah. He's there are days when I will hit word 2,000. I'll be like, screw this, I'm done. I'm getting up. But so another super productive writer who I am less a fan of, but whose process is more interesting, Michael Crichton. Mm-hmm. He used to write books in about a month or 3 weeks, and he would get up earlier and earlier in the morning as the process went on to try and keep the momentum. Because think you're new to a project, you're excited about it, you have that first mojo, and then as you start to hit hurdles and it gets harder and harder, he would fight himself earlier and earlier to the point where he would get up at 3 in the morning, late in the process, and just
See,
Right.
that seems crazy to me because I mean, there's obviously a lot of there's biology that says our brain fires best around I think it's 10 a.m. right? Because it's not right when you first wake up because you need time to settle in, but it's an hour or two after you wake up. That's why the ACT and the SATs are given at that specific time. There's actual science behind it, theoretically. I guess I read it, but yeah, there's the theory that says that's when the brain's firing at optimum capacity is 2 hours after you wake up.
That brings up an interesting thing. So I have a pet theory based on no science, but I'm a tolerant man, free to be you and me. Everybody can pursue their own life, but I feel like this whole notion that some people are morning people and some people are night people is fake.
I agree.
think it's mostly habituation. What did you train yourself to do, and then you're like that. So, when my wife worked nights, obviously she is going to want to sleep in on her day off. That's just, she has a biological imperative there. But I know that there are super productive people who do productive things at night, but I just, I don't know, maybe I'm a solipsist, maybe I just believe that everyone is exactly like me. But, I think the people who tell me that they're not morning people are lying.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. There's actually there's an article I read not that long ago that was basically
That was my hot take. I thought you were going to be you're wrong.
No. There's an article I read that people that state that they're morning people, even if they don't believe it, if they just kind of fake it, will actually wake up early and be happier throughout the day.
Is this some of the secret bullshit?
Dude, it was probably just some random friend's Facebook post. It was I can't quote the source, right? But no, it was a real article that somebody faked, probably. But there's and it to go lead credence to your point of probably just all in our head.
Yeah, I think that it's I think it's something that you just you get used to it, and you obviously attention is finite, right? If you have an open day and nobody emails you and nobody calls you and you're in perfect conditions, eventually you are going to hit diminishing returns. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. Sometimes you're in the groove and sometimes you're not. But I just, it's hard for me to imagine that you have your strongest, most potent resources available to you at 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
that just seems silly to me.
Get into this in the kind of second topic. The 2:30 feeling, right? That 5-hour energy market's on it's a real thing. And they kind of blew it up beyond what it actually is, but it's real, right? You kind of run out of gas at a certain point, and that's why we need to eat throughout the day, and that's why we need to do all these certain things. But no, I mean, my friends in college made fun of me because in college, right, you stay up late, you pull all-nighters, and you do this sort of thing. I was kind of the Michael Crichton model in that I would go to sleep and wake up at 4 in the morning. I knew it took me about an hour per page to write an essay. I had worked that out between the reading and all the sort of pieces that went with it. So if I had done the reading and I knew I had to write a 5-page paper, I knew I had 5 hours to do a minimum of 5 hours to do that. So if it was due at 10 a.m., I'd wake up at 5.
No.
If I hadn't started the paper at all.
Oh, this is giving me a panic attack.
Your body works best under pressure, right? When you're forced to do things. The other part of it is, being in college at the kind of birth of social media. My freshman year was the first year of public Facebook. That was a big distraction when you went to the library or whatever at night. And that people would always be posting, and you have all these distractions available. All these sort of things.
But at 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning, yeah, no one's on social media, so you were just free to kind of do you. No one's we didn't have texting back then, but
there's a certain cockiness. You have to have a certain amount of ego to be I can finish this morning.
But you learn your limit. An hour page isn't exactly
No, that's
I'm not going crazy. But that's the thing, right? I could have pushed it and said, 2 pages an hour or something like that. But I knew I needed, an hour a page, which isn't anything crazy by any stretch of the imagination. When you're writing political science theory,
I remember putting myself in bad spots in college and being It was before I drank coffee, and it's the middle of the night. I'm 10 pages into a paper that's got to be 15 pages, and just going into the kitchen, not knowing how to make coffee, just getting a handful of ground coffee and just chewing on it.
You couldn't get like a soda? Like there wasn't other caffeinated options available?
I'm not saying it was rational.
Well, this leads to the point, right? No rational thought happens after midnight. Like regardless of location.
Yeah. You've hit diminishing returns. Your paper is not getting better.
Right.
Yeah.
You spending, midnight to 10 a.m. pulling out and writing a paper is less than half effective as me sleeping 5 hours and then going from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Maybe it helped me with lateral thinking. Maybe
I can't imagine.
I saw through.
Maybe if you're
expectations.
If you're writing a acid rock song, maybe. If you're writing a political theory paper, probably not.
One thing about like when you work and how you work, a lot of it has to do with collaborating. I feel like there's a perfect way to do meetings, and it's just a matter of discipline, and I've so rarely been in a place where the discipline exists. Like, I used to work someplace where we had morning update, I think it was every single morning, and you come into that little update meeting 5 minutes late, and the boss was happy to be a jerk about it and be like, there are 6 people in this room, 5 times 6 is 30. You ate 30 minutes of our time. It made people kind of think like, these are the 3 sentences I'm going to say. I say them, and I'm done. Next thing.
I wish, man. That's my biggest work pet peeve by a mile, is people that don't value other people's time. Because when you're late, you're saying that your 5 minutes are worth more valuable than mine and everyone else in this meetings. Technology has ruined meetings because no one can apparently work a conference call number, and there's all those sort of issues.
Guilty.
And that's, I think, caused more delays than I have to connect to the projector or whatever it may be. Meetings in general, we can do a whole hour on that someday.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like collaboration is a huge part of work in figuring out what is the line between how much bullshitting you should do and allow, and how much does that help and foster connections. And I certainly have done my share of that. Versus like, how much should we just say, okay, we're all here for a reason. It says on the meeting, sales updates. Basically, that consists of, a number from everyone and a sentence of, it's not going well with this guy because X. And if you have any questions about it, I'll handle them offline.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long up front either. And if people aren't good kind of schedulers, then find someone in your team who will keep you on task, right? If it's an hour-long meeting and there's 3 points you want to hit, at 20 minutes, you have to move on. And you either close up and say, hey, the 3 of us are going to take this aside later. I'm going to handle this on my own, assign roles, assign tasks. Then you have to move on.
Totally.
Also, if it's an hour meeting, end at an hour. There's no reason to go beyond that. And if it takes more time, fine, schedule something else. But you can't expect people to just be like, this is so important, it can't wait.
You can uncover something in a meeting where you're like, oh, we need to talk about this.
Yep.
That happens. And that could be a reason to run stuff over. But, like, why does every Monday morning meeting, like, I want to know everything about everybody's weekend, one-on-one maybe.
Yeah.
But why, like, when we go around the circle once a fake time before we do the real time, it's like this, no one can find this politeness that makes us all happier, make them any happier at all.
And if you're the dude who, unless you if you have another meeting, you can make that excuse. But if you're like, I have work to do, I need to leave, people look at you like, what?
What a jerk.
What a jerk. And I've done that in meetings where this clearly doesn't pertain to me. You are off topic or whatever it is. I'm leaving to go do stuff. The meeting's over, and just get side-eyed all day.
Totally. Or you try to make a joke about it, but there's no easy way to do it.
For the second topic today, I want to talk about a concept known as decision fatigue. Are you familiar with kind of the basics?
No. Other than we talked about how you can't do things as well at 3, which that I understand. But
so the basic concept behind it is that there's a mental capacity, and that the brain is similar to any other muscle, and that if you are making decisions throughout the day, your quality of decisions will be worse later on. And similarly, not only will the decision be worse, we actually tend to not make those decisions. So, right, we talked about this the last podcast a fair amount, the paradox of choice, and we have more choice now than we've ever had in the history of society.
So more decisions.
More decisions, essentially, yeah. So whether that's what do I wear today? What do I have for breakfast? All these sort of, am I going to exercise before work? What time am I going to wake up? The snooze button is a constant subconscious decision that I go back and forth with. I won't use it for a year, and then I'll use it all the time. These are decisions that you're constantly making, especially if you're in you're not on a line pounding in nails all day. You are making decisions constantly throughout the day.
Is your partner I'm sorry, total tangent, but I have to ask. Because Nia does this to me, and I have come to hate the snooze button. Because she'll snooze 3 times every morning. Does your partner, you guys sleep in the same room, right?
Yes.
Is she there when you're snoozing, and does she hate that?
Yes, she hates it. She starts earlier than me.
So sometimes she's there, sometimes she's not.
Yeah. So I do feel bad about it. Some days I'm worse than others.
I feel like there's a whole, this is something you're not taught in manners. You don't know what's going to, but this is this was a couple's problem I never had because I was always the first one up until now, that I have I'm at home working from a home schedule. But, it's
also because it's not, most of the time for me, it's not a conscious decision. I'm just rolling over and hitting my phone.
Yeah, you're not even all the way.
I'm not making it to that point of this is going to piss off the person next to me, right?
It's it's on a loop. The first 2, you feel like I just get this for free.
For me, it's always that decision of I set my alarm for early because I wanted to get in the office early, but I don't need to be in the office early. I could come in an hour later. Me hitting the snooze alarm 5 times or something until you get awake enough and you're like, oh, this is really impolite. But that thought doesn't occur to you in your weird 3 seconds subconscious mind.
It's one of those things where we just to this point, just she's getting up first. It's not worth it. It's not worth trying to argue this out. But it is something that's kind of in the back of my mind. Why you said it this way?
Well,
every time we do 3 snoozes, just set it at this time.
And you're making the decision to not say something or to whatever it is. We are making conscious and subconscious decisions.
Oh, bringing it back. This is the topic.
Constantly throughout our day, and the brain is essentially a muscle, right? Mm-hmm. And we've all noticed it, right? You had a really stressful day at work, or something happened. You're more likely to go get fast food, or you're more likely to not exercise.
Oh,
or default to the easier, more impulsive choice, right? Never go, grocery shopping when you're hungry and all these sort of things. The same concept applies. If you've been mentally drained through whatever decision making you've done throughout the day or whatever stress you've been under, your quality of decisions will go down, and you'll default to actually the easiest choice. Where this comes into me, there's 2 sides to it. There's the side internally where you have to recognize that and either A, minimize choices earlier in the day, or B, I've done this where you swallow a sugar cube or a piece of candy to help give you a short mental kind of bring you back. If I have a big meeting coming up and it's 3:34 in the afternoon and I know this, just a couple M&Ms or something like that can actually bring you back for a short time. There's the same sugar crush that comes with a cup of coffee or anything like that, but it'll get you there for a short time. But not only internally, I exploit this all the time externally from a sales guy. In the morning, I know my buyers or clients will be more engaged, so I will make a meeting more two-sided and ask their opinion, and they want to be involved, and all these sort of things. If I have a meeting at 3 o'clock, which is the ones I actually prefer,
keep it simple.
Buyers are less engaged. They will talk less to you. They will respond less to your questions. They will give their opinions less. But if you know that going in and you make your solution as turnkey as possible, hey, I made this as easy for you as possible. Literally, you sign the papers, I'm going to get this to go.
You try and be the fast food for them.
Because, it's what it is. It's they want to default to the easiest option. Most, in my world, they're meeting with a bunch of different clients throughout the day. They're going to go with somebody's proposal. If I make mine the easiest for them and the least amount of work for them, at the end of the day, they're just how am I supposed to decide between these 5? I will go with the easiest option, not necessarily the best option.
And it's funny because you kind of know your positioning walking in. Like sometimes you can't really make it the easiest, quote unquote. So if you know that you're an easy one, then you can put it late. If you know that you're going to take some extra steps and you have to be like, if you put in this work, you'll get out the value, then you want to be early in the day. That's
Absolutely.
a funny idea.
Well, you were a former buyer, and I think most buyers or clients or anyone being sold to, we all have a little bit of ego, right? We all believe we know more than we probably actually do,
and a lot of suspicion, right? Because everyone has an agenda, and like the whole business of like people trying to be your friend can feel so fake and exhausting. Like, I don't want to be at this lunch with you. You don't want to be at this lunch with me. Let's just say that the glycerin costs this much, and I say, oh, I'm getting it cheaper from them. Call me in a month if the price goes down.
There's a way to skip the process that people aren't generally not open to.
Well,
if I did do that, you'd be like, what's this guy doing? Right?
Totally. And it's easy to say from the buyer's side, because you have to feel it out. Like, I absolutely had salespeople who, not by the virtue of the client they represented or the product that they had, but just by the virtue of, this dude works for me, not gets me White Sox tickets, but when I say, we do not have any of that, I know that you need 2 days to get it to me, get it to me in 1 day. He's the person who I think maybe will figure out a way to do it.
And go-to guy.
Or she. I had a lot of men and women salespeople, I guess, now that I think about it. But I think, I remember 2 salespeople who I haven't worked with in maybe 6 years, and both of them that I really liked, I tried to go to in other jobs where I wasn't really a buyer. But, when I was like, I need a trucking solution, I don't know anybody who does this. This guy probably doesn't. But if he does, he's going to get my money first, because I know that if I call that guy,
right.
Got your back. Absolutely. And they say it's, it's a relationship and it's because you like them, or it's no, it's that they have proven their worth. That has nothing to do with decision making.
No, it absolutely does. Because, to kind of go back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, if I was going to you in a morning meeting, I would more play into that. Those morning meetings are when I hey, what are you thinking here? Where are you trying to go with this, company or this, whatever it may be, and let's work out a solution together. If I'm coming in at the end of the day, I'm coming in with listen, your time is valuable. I have this 30-page deck. I'm not going to use it. Here's the 3 things we're going to do: A, B, C. Make it as easy for you as possible, and here's what's going to happen at the back end. That cool?
Yeah.
And it's literally, you shorten and you turnkey it, right?
Totally. And
if I did that in the morning, you'd be like, yeah, all right, who's the next guy?
The buyers love that. Save me a little bit of time. I loved it both ways. I loved, both treat me like I'm smart, and give me the information that's actually valuable, and not just we have a great website, and we've been in business for this many years. Everyone tells you how many years they've been in business, and I could see the argument that matters. It doesn't matter.
Working in the tech world, it does a little bit. But when you work for a food manufacturer, not as much.
You sell glycerin. That guy sells glycerin. That guy sells glycerin. You're all basically importers. You're all getting it from the same place. I don't care how maybe if you've been in business for a week. Anyway, I'm sure that I would say that to anyone.
When you say you worked for a virtual reality company that's been around since 2009, ears perk. Because people are like, oh, wait, virtual reality's been around since 2009? Yeah, it kind of has.
I remember it. Well, it's not good.
It was not good. But
no, I think that as a buyer, started to say it and then got lost in my own woods. But you want it on the front end of treat me like I'm smart, get right to the important stuff. And then you want it on the back end with, when I have a decision that's really important to me, and I need to be taught step by step, this is what this, this thing that's specific to your industry that maybe you as a salesperson don't know about, but you have to go like do the work for me because like all of those things, all of that hand holding is fantastic. You know, I needed that when I was like when I was purchasing for Enjoy Life. It was a very hard job. I was not qualified for it, and the person who had done it before me was also not qualified. It had never been done right, so it wasn't like I could just like look at the way it used to be done and run that back. Like I was trying to kind of build from, in many cases, from a very low base. Doing some of the thinking for me was absolutely a service, especially later in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like in the early goings, it's like I have, like if I have a need, I'm just like, the town is flooding. Give me the sandbags, you know. But then later, it's like, okay, now I know that there are these kinds of sandbags. Tell me about fine grained silica, you know.
Yeah, just someone to help me out a little bit here.
Absolutely. It's funny to think about decision fatigue because I think of it as just like being tired. Because that's how we think of it.
Fatigue,
like
yeah.
when if it's 5 and I've worked and I decide not to work out, I think of it just as I'm tired, not mentally I've used up all of my willpower.
Good decision making,
yeah,
willpower.
Exactly.
There's a cool study that some university did, and they had participants come in and they had one group pick out what they were going to get as compensation. They could get a candle, they could get whatever, $5, whatever it may be. Here's a bunch of options. Think about what you want. We'll come back in 5 minutes. Other group, I think they were given like a sheet, that picture of all these things, but they knew which one they were going to get.
So like these are all the things we give people. You're getting the money.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was just like a picture. Like, just think about these.
Oh,
they didn't know why. I believe I could be wrong. Then they did the ice water test. Hold your hand in a bowl of ice water as long as you can.
Mm-hmm.
The decision group lasted half as long. Like it was like 28 seconds less than the group of that. That's a very small example, but like half as long is incredibly significant.
You're making a decision.
One decision affected their willpower that much.
You know what? This takes me to a really interesting place because are you familiar with? There's this great book called Getting Things Done, and he talks a lot about how much energy we waste thinking what to do next. So it's like figure out all the, like in a very concentrated burst, figure out all the things that you have to do, right? Then make a very like organized way in which you're going to attack those things, and then don't screw with the list. If you said, first I'm going to write this article, then I'm going to find the image.
The power of routine.
Yeah. Well, it's
or power of scheduling. It's all one and the same.
No, I think they're both real. Like, or I think about it with like sometimes I work out with circuit training. You get stronger in a workout as you do more of the exercise. So if you've been doing push-ups for a month, you're going to do more push-ups than you did at the beginning of the month. But also, it's just easier to do and have the willpower to complete a longer, harder workout if you're just like, now I do jumping jacks, now I do this, now I do this, and you're ready to do that. It's not just, like, obviously it's healthy to vary whatever your workout is, but it's also productive, it's also effective to take out the, okay, so what should I do next?
Yeah, there's a ton of research on like the losing weight and that sort of piece. That's if you want to stick to an exercise routine, plan what you're going to do down to almost the number of reps for each workout. If you say I'm going to work out from 7 to 8 every night, you actually won't stick to it. If you say I'm going to run Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to do weights Tuesday, Thursday, you will be more likely to succeed. If you say I'm going to run 3 miles Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm going to do push-ups and do 50 push-ups and 100 sit-ups, you are even better. The more down to the grain you get on scheduling those things out, the more likely you are to stick to that.
I believe it. I totally believe that. And I'll tell you another thing is like the sense of accomplishment you get from working out for a time is very different from the sense of accomplishment you get from achieving a task. So, like, we both were in athletics as, like, high school, college, whatever. And, like, as a swimmer, you really had very concrete things you were trying to achieve. Like, the difference between swimming 100 meters in, 58 seconds to 57 seconds is very concrete. And once you achieve that, the pride associated with it is huge. So I feel like, yeah, that, just to set very simple goals, like, I can only run 2 miles now. Next month I can run 3 miles. That's a big deal because it feels like you're getting somewhere. The weight one is so tricky, and I would try as hard as I could not to tie my ego to my weight.
Sure.
But, like, there are diminishing returns in anything. But, like, if you're lifting and you're like, oh, now I can lift more. If you're running and now I can run further or I can run faster, like, that is a much more reasonable and, I would hazard a guess, healthy way to, like, pursue physical fitness. And fitness is always the easiest metaphor for work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because, like, the average person doesn't write articles. So they're not like, oh, you wrote it 20% better? Like, how do you even quantify that? Did you write more?
Yeah.
Did you write more?
You answered 5 more emails today than yesterday.
Exactly. Like, even in sales, like, the most quantifiable of all jobs, it's like, I sold this much, but it just kind of rolled in this quarter, and it didn't roll in last quarter. It's funny how trying to figure out what to do can rob you of the energy to just do the thing that you do. And that's, I've been having a damnedest time trying to figure out this, how to get this podcast across. And part of it is, there are infinite options.
Yep.
Right? So at first I was like, I'll just clone my original website. And then I realized, there's a cost associated with that. So, okay, I'll do it in this cheaper way. Oh, well, there's a learning curve associated with that. Okay, well, I'll do it on YouTube. Oh, but then I have to make it into a video. Oh, well, I'll get the video. And it's just like so much switching. If I had just stuck to the original task, it would have been finished in 2 hours. But, like, the idea of, like,
well, there is this other option out there.
Totally. And it's good sometimes to think laterally and try and understand the terrain that you're on, whatever task that is. But you just have to understand the cost you're paying.
Yeah. And whatever option you end up on a month from now, you'll find out something like, there was a better option. If I would have spent an extra hour.
No, and you always think it would have been an hour. But it could have been
it could have been.
an amount of time, Like, the worst is when you talk to your smart colleague and they make it seem so easy to have done the thing you did. But, like, don't tell me it must have been easier.
Yeah.
That jealousy is real.
Well, to bring it all back, I mean, when you look at all the most, people we consider hyper-productive, right, your Steve Jobs and, a lot of the tech world, like, they've brought it down to, like, eating the same meal every day and eliminating any sort of, like, choice, wearing the same clothes, right? All these sort of things that are minimizing the number of choices and just return to minimalism that you're seeing. And it's definitely part of the decision fatigue, right? They're making they want to eliminate. You bring it all the way into, like, the weird correlation between CEOs and, like, the dominatrix world in S&M, which is they've been making all these decisions and they want to, like, default to a almost submissive role
because they're tired.
They're just tired. And they want to go too easy, which is like, let me submit almost.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got there.
There's an interesting piece about, like, routine in that we all think of it as, like, monotony and boring and all these things. But if it's routine by your own choice, not by someone forcing routine on you, you tend to be way more okay with it. Eating scrambled eggs for breakfast becomes less like a chore and more like, oh no, I'm choosing to eat this every day.
Totally. It's the thing that I think about all the time is related to, like, everyone's job becomes onerous when it becomes a job. You know, the minute somebody pays you to play a concert, you're like, oh, I got ripped off 10 ways. But if you're playing that same music in the same place for free, you probably have more fun. You know, and in another kind of angle on a similar idea is like, it's probably fun to like be a garbage man if it's for a week and it's your choice and you're just trying it out. I bet that like being a garbage man for a week could be more fun than many week-long vacations to go back to.
I guarantee it. And you look at actors like, you know,
Totally, like-
taking on like spend a day with, whatever rock climber. Like,
And make no mistake, I'm not pretending that like, oh, those lucky garbage men, like they really have it all, and I wish I would. No, like if you get forced into a job or your life ends up, whatever your job is, it's a job and it carries that weight. And I think it's also something that I often hear from my colleagues is like a certain envy for people who do a job that ends at 5 and you don't care about it when it's done. Like you just do it when you're there, and you could be doing anything, but if you've ever had a job like that, and I have, I'm sure you have, they're terrible. Those kinds of jobs are like they are leveling. And I'm sure different people you can find.
But they didn't used to be.
Way.
20 years ago, factory jobs were almost praised and people loved them.
Sure. I mean, I don't. But it's hard for me to imagine that, if you're, like, maybe if a job had a higher social standing, there's something in there to be enjoyed. But, I didn't feel degraded when I was, working at Millennium Park, showing tourists where the bathroom was. I didn't feel like this is below me. I didn't feel like people were, sneering at me or anything. Everyone understood that this was a summer transitional job. There was no way that I wasn't abasing myself. But that job was torture because it's torturous to be bored. It's like a human is a machine.
Is that? I guess my question is that boredom a recent development? Because my grandparents, who worked either in mines or auto part factories, railroad factories, line jobs, right? Never talk about their jobs being boring. But our generation, and I know our generation, now they're bored. They did this for 4 years. For the first 30 of it was fine.
But don't you think that, that's just the sepia tone of memory?
Probably.
If you met them when they were 20 and you were like, so, what's it like digging all day? That would be like, it's horrible. Saturday is so much the best day of the week. I'm smart. I have thoughts. I would like to use those thoughts for something, that's tough. Going back to the decision fatigue thing, we talked about doing little experiments of just among ourselves and trying things out for a week and coming back and reporting on it. It might be fun to do that thing where you eliminate choice.
I would
love to for a week, start on Monday, go through till the next Monday, pick out everything you're going to wear.
See,
eat the exact same breakfast.
I'm nervous with the clothes part, just from somebody in an office.
Fashion man.
Well, no. Dude, if you saw the same guy wearing the same black sweater.
No. You can wear different clothes, but you have to plan it. You pick everything out.
Pick them all out in advance.
Set it all up, and just batch it. So, on a Sunday, do all the work of the week. So, make sure you have enough of the same breakfast to eat the exact same breakfast every day. Lunch is tough. I don't think I'm going to say do lunch, but absolutely do clothes.
I'll do
all
lunch.
The same clothes. I can't do lunch because my relationship has too much to do with food. We cook it's leftovers. Lunch is.
Well, you can still plan it out ahead.
Yeah, I could, but I don't think I will.
You're not committing to the process here. I mean, listen, we can't.
The clothes.
We can't.
Clothes is enough.
You have to automate a minimum of 7 choices in your life.
Oh my God, 7.
Well, think about it. Clothes.
Clothes is
breakfast.
Huge. Clothes and breakfast.
You can do.
I was going to stop.
What time you're going to wake up? Alarm clock time.
Oh yeah.
Bedtime.
Oh yeah.
Right. So we're automating sleep essentially.
This is a lot of things at this point.
We're at 4.
I think 4 is enough. I want to succeed at this. I want to
All
give
right.
us a chance
All right.
to do this and come back with legit results of a week, even on the weekend,
As long as it's planned ahead.
as long as it's planned ahead. So you can
I'm going to
say,
bed at this time.
I'm going to bed at midnight and getting up at 9, but you have to get up at 9.
You have to do it.
So it is close, breakfast, bedtime, wake up time. And you're going to do
more.
lunch.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do
I'll
lunch.
do lunch.
You
Around
can
five.
do lunch. And we'll see. We'll
It
compare.
might be like
That might
it
be
might
the
be
thing
like
that
I'm going to
makes you-
get a sandwich from Potbelly's every day, but like it's good. That's
Yeah.
fine as long as it's planned ahead.
Totally, but it's better if it's the exact same sandwich.
Is
The
it?
exact same place.
I might do it.
I totally like that idea. And I saw an article in one of these Inc. or something, and I would have said you're a liar if you had said that this was the case, where this woman was like, I eat this for lunch every day because it's healthy and I don't have to think about it, and that's one less thing. And I thought, is that really healthy? Like, whatever it is, it can't be. You know, 'cause
Anything in excess,
variety
right?
is supposed to be good for you. But I'm like, is that just my hippity dippity? Like, is that just my imagination of how the world works, or does the world in fact work that way?
Listen, man, we've spent millenniums as a species eating pretty much the same meal every day.
Or like, for a month you eat a warthog, and then for a month you eat, whatever.
But even that was rare. Like most people survive
Totally.
on the same
Eating bugs. Eating bugs. Great job on another Word Friends podcast, TJ.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Excellent.